Welcome to the latest episode of the Christian Myths and Forgeries series. This summary will examine the Symmachian Forgeries, an interconnected set of 5 blatant lies created by the Catholic Church to protect the Pope and clergy from interference by secular governments. Curiously, one of these forgeries still plays a major role in Church canon law to this day. Further, the self-serving canons that emerged from the fictitious events narrated in the forgeries, particularly that the clergy are outside of secular jurisdiction, are at the heart of why the Church's child sex scandal went unprosecuted for so many generations. The background of the Symmachian Forgeries is rooted in the contest between 2 rival contenders for the Bishopric of Rome, or the Papacy, specifically Pope Symmachus and Antipope Laurentius in 498. Both men had been elected by separate power bases on the same day at different basilicas in Rome, and so they appealed to the Ostrogothic king of Italy, Theodoric the Great, for a decision in the matter. Theodoric decreed that whoever had been elected first and had the most supporters should be pope, which was Symmachus. However, this did not stop the politicking by the Laurentian camp, especially given their close ties to the East and its emperor. In particular, the Laurentians accused Symmachus of having won favor by paying bribes, leading to the first of 4 trials for the pope. But the Laurentians were also accused of attempting to bribe the king. Symmachus called the first synod in 499 and was cleared. Subsequently, the Laurentians accused Symmachus of celebrating Easter on the wrong date, in violation of the rules for calculating its observance as determined at Nicaea in 325. Additionally, he was accused of improper relations with women and other misdeeds, and so Theodoric summoned Symmachus for the second trial, which occurred in 501. The specifics of the 3 trials are off-topic, as the key factor was the creation of the Symmachian Forgeries, which appeared during or after the second trial. The forgeries appeared in a series of pamphlets written in the language of the streets and described trials of earlier popes that just coincidentally happened to mirror the charges against Symmachus and provided false precedents that popes were immune from criticism, laying the groundwork that would shield the clergy from interference by secular authorities. So, to the 5 forgeries and the impact they have had on church history and church-state relations. The Acts of Marcellino at the Council of Sinuessa, supposedly held in 303, dealt with Pope Marcellinus admitting to making pagan sacrifices on the orders of Emperor Diocletian, but the council declared that the Pope had condemned himself, since no one had ever judged the pontiff, because the first see will not be judged by anyone. But a little context around this important doctrine is required, as the idea that the Pope is immune only appeared a few years before Symmachus during the reign of his predecessor, Gelasius, who declared as much in his Epistle 10. The acts in the purification of Pope Sixtus III, who, it was claimed, was denounced to Emperor Valentinian III in the 5th century during a property dispute and accused of debasing a consecrated virgin. Valentinian called an assembly at which a former Roman consul named Maximus, potentially Petronius Maximus, who served his second consulship in 443, and the only Maximus listed for the period overlapping Sixtus and Valentinian, claimed it was illegal to pass sentence on a pope. 2 other minor forgeries are included for full coverage of the Symmachian Forgeries, but their impact on history is marginal. The Acts of the Accusation against Polychronius, Bishop of Jerusalem, which narrate a story that this fictional bishop had dared to claim that Jerusalem was the first see, with himself as the bishop holding primacy over the others. And the Acts of Pope Liberius dealt with issues of baptism. The final and most important forgery, the Constitutum Sylvestri, created yet another fictitious council, the Council of Sylvester, that was alleged to have taken place in 324. This council drew on the story of Marcellinus and Sixtus and issued a fictitious canon, 3, known as the Accusatorial Canon, that prohibited subordinates from making accusations against their superiors, like the Pope. The Constitutum Sylvestri opens by drawing on the Acts of Sylvester, then proceeded to debate the same issues which Symmachus faced, such as the dating of Easter. Doctoral candidate Michael Elliott provides the English text of the Accusatorial Canon 3 in his thesis, noting, he, Sylvester, set down a hierarchy with respect to synods, such that a presbyter may not bring an accusation against a bishop, nor a deacon against a presbyter, nor a subdeacon against a deacon, nor an acolyte against a subdeacon, nor an exorcist against an acolyte, nor a lector against an exorcist, nor an ostiary against a lector. And a bishop shall not be condemned except by the testimony of 72, nor shall the highest bishop be judged by anyone, for it is written, the disciple is not above the master. Finally, at the Synod of Palmaris, held in October 502, the bishops followed the precedents laid out for them in the three Symmachian Forgeries of Marcellinus, Sixtus, and Sylvester, and declared that as the Pope was a successor to St. Peter, the judgment must be left to God, and Symmachus was exonerated. Demacopoulos notes that the accusatorial canon of the Constitutum Sylvestri had the benefit of shielding the Pope both from rivals within the Church and also placing him beyond the reach of secular interference. Then, around 530, a new form of papal rhetoric emerged known as the Liber Pontificalis, or the Book of the Popes, that was built on the invented papal biographies produced in the Symmachian Forgeries. The Liber Pontificalis was created as a tool of church propaganda, and as such it needs to be understood within the political context of the influence exercised over church matters by the Ostrogothic king, Theodoric, and Justinian's efforts to reconquer the Italian peninsula. The Constitutum Sylvestri and its fictions came to be so authoritative that the pro-Laurentian version of it, known as the Council of 275 Bishops, was included in the entry for Sylvester in the Liber Pontificalis. The Loomis edition gives a modern scholarly perspective in the footnote for Sylvester's entry. The records of the council and of the canons promulgated by it and by Sylvester at this time are fabrications of the age of Symmachus, intended to provide sanction for episcopal claims and to exalt the episcopal office in general. Demacopoulos also notes a further aspect of the Vatican's attempts to rewrite history, given that Canon 4 of the Constitutum Sylvestri stated that the property of priests, including those not beholden to papal interests, was to be turned over to the Roman Church upon their deaths. The titular churches, supported by aristocrats in the camp of Laurentius, had been established by the cults of earlier Christian martyrs and had remained independent of the cult of Peter, based in the Lateran and Vatican basilicas. Canon 4, which contrived a papal role in the creation and organization of the titular churches, was useful in absorbing these other cults under Vatican authority. Subsequently, bishops raised to cardinals became associated with the titular churches to continue this charade. The Constitutum Sylvestri and the accusatorial canon, first declared by Gelasius a few years before, went on to play a key role in the development of canon law, influencing how those doctrines impacted political relations, and it is still enshrined in Catholic canon law today. Speaking of canon law, in 2021 the Vatican issued its first major update in decades, but not to jettison the fictitious "the first see is judged by none" from the books, but to clarify that incidents of alleged sexual abuse by clergy must be reported to authorities within the Church, not to secular law enforcement. Such a move demonstrates that the Catholic Church continues to believe its own made-up hype that it is above the laws of man and answerable only to itself and God. Well, we can see what that attitude has done to the Church's reputation and bank accounts. If you like my content, please like and subscribe to get notified of new videos. Please also consider supporting my work by becoming a Patreon sponsor. You can also find me on the following platforms: